Good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world, as the philosopher Jay Z so eloquently said. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. It's The Rock. I think that's how you phrase it. You'll notice that we don't have our third string quarterback today. So we're working with the starters, as it were. The South has once again risen. Amber and I are in full control of this podcast. John's off somewhere gallivanting in the cave where he'll get bitten by a centipede layer that's poisonous, and he and Allison will renew their vows. I'm
Yep.
sure of it. But we
It'll be a
wanted to
tuk
talk
tuk
about
somewhere.
something like that. Amber, how you feeling today?
Let's just move on. That's not a great
Good
question.
answer. Good answer. So Amber's unhinged, as am I, for different reasons, but we want to talk about something that's super important to our business of coaching and was heavily prevalent in the 90s, and that's breaking up. Boys to Men sang about it, NSYNC sang about it, I've sung about it, breakups to makeups. How do you end a relationship amicably with a client, not only in a way that the client feels the client feels as if they have had a great experience. You don't take things personally that the relationship has run its course, as so many ex-girlfriends have said to me, and you put yourself in a position as a professional that you're going to be able to pivot this separation in a way that it promotes your business as a great business. Amber, John, John, and you and John actually talk about often the things that you're dealing with in terms of Quick Coach, which is incredible software from the PTDC. You should sign up for it. I don't know where that is because I don't do links.
QuickCoach.fit.
Uh, Whatever, not paid enough for that. But you often talk about how clients perceive you when things go off the rails is a big deal, right? They can learn so much more. It's a great opportunity to see what type of business you are. Jonathan, oftentimes when people will come into one of our groups, one of our Facebook groups, and say, yeah, Amber's crap and John's crap and Ren's awful. You guys suck, and you said I'd make $1 bajillion and I didn't make it, and I want my money back, you losers. Oftentimes the reply that John will give will not be the reply that's for that person. They never let me reply, but it won't be the reply that's for that person. It's a reply to show the other folks in the group how even handedly we operate when things don't go as planned. You can learn a lot more that way. Amber, I think that the termination of a coaching relationship, termination may be a strong word. I think the determination of a coaching relationship offers the same opportunity. Do you concur?
I do. I actually think termination is a good word because it makes me think Terminator, and then it makes me think
Nice.
I'll be back because they might
Nice.
be back,
Nice. Oh, very nice. I see what you did
right?
there, Amber.
I
That's very
know. I
clever.
know.
Wow. So we want to talk about that today, and I'm sort of going to kick it off because Amber's actually got some great offboarding things to talk to us about as the opposite of onboarding a client, offboarding a client. I'm eager to hear that. But let's start here. I want to make point number one this point, and that's the fact that you're going to want to take it personally, particularly as a new coach. If anybody leaves at any point less than 20 years from the time they started with you, like
Hmm.
there's no great length of time where you actually feel satisfied as a coach. I know, Amber, when I was a new coach, I felt personally
Oh
I
yeah.
felt personally rejected. No matter how
Hmm.
long it was, no matter when the person left. What are your thoughts about that? Like the idea of not internalizing so much the fact that somebody's going to leave the nest. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, it's good and bad, right? Like this is our baby. This is our business, and it's a
Yeah.
personal type service. Obviously, we're hopefully building connections with clients, so there
Right.
should be some skin in the game. but our brain needs to be an active participant in analyzing a situation when they are leaving, right? Because the vast majority of the time, it has nothing to do with us.
Right.
They have things going on, they're overwhelmed, there's things that they don't want to share with you that you have no right to, so
Right.
it's one of those things that you may never know the real answer, and
Hmm.
just kind of default to that, and
Yeah.
leave the door open. So if they do decide to come back, unless you really hate them or something, but like, have give them grace and the benefit of the doubt that whatever is happening isn't because you've done something wrong. Although I totally get that. That's my default. I always think I'm in trouble. I always think I'm about to be fired for something. So I totally get it, but like, that's something you have to kind of train your brain to not do as best you can.
That's that's such a great phrase. Your brain needs to be an active participant. I feel so seen and attacked in the same sentence.
Yeah,
Thinking
same.
back to all the times when my brain was not an active participant in whatever I was doing, it's like, how did you know
No,
this? That's the
heart
perfect
and ego
phrase.
had a stranglehold on it.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah. Just
suffocating.
had a chokehold on me. So this is a real thing, man. And if we can say anything here today, you don't take anything else away from this podcast, which you might not. Take away this: it's not a personal decision on the part of the client who's leaving. That there's something intrinsically wrong with you as a human being, and you're the sole reason that they make all decisions in their life. Believe it or not, there could be a sick child, there could be a sick spouse, there could be trouble at work, there could be so many things, particularly in the online space, because we don't even have the proximity relationship with a client to say, oh, I won't see you at the gym next week, huh? That, oh, it's going to be so, like, we don't even have that connection. You're doing a lot of heavy lifting across the interwebs, Al Gore's internet, obviously. You're doing a lot of heavy lifting across the internet to even establish the connections that are required for a client to feel like they're connected with you at all. Like it's a magic trick, really, what we do in terms of online coaching. But there are so many things going on in their lives. This is our job, but it's not their job. And they've got a gazillion other things going on. You just never know. And as Amber so eloquently said, you don't always need to know. It's not your business, right? It's not your business that they've had a relationship challenge. It's not your business that their third cousin got diagnosed with something. It's just not our business, but it's never, ever, ever, or rarely. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you're just an ass, but it's rarely about us. It's rarely
But it's
about
it's
us.
worth it's worth taking the time to pause and reflect to make sure it's
Yes,
not. That's always worth doing, but there's a difference between checking in with yourself and the quality of your work versus
yes,
letting your brain run away with itself and like making
yes.
up stories and shit. So like,
Yeah, I'm a shit trainer. I knew I couldn't do
exactly.
this. I'm going back to
Mm,
insurance. People hate my haircut. Like there's just
yeah.
no limit to the places that your brain can. And Amber, I'm sure you have some methodology, some suggestions for checking in as we get to offboarding. Is that safe to
Mm,
say, or would you like to
yes.
interject now? Um,
We can do it now because that probably makes
okay,
sense to
okay,
connect it in
yeah,
with here. I mean, so I was actually just talking to a student about this. We're gonna actually do this together, somewhat on Friday. Um, is looking at like, okay, where did if there was a breakdown, if someone is leaving and you're unsure about why that happened, going back through their history and looking for the bottleneck. Like, often clients are super gung ho at the beginning and they're doing
mhm,
everything and saying all the things and checking everything off. Where did it start to fall apart? And then you can start to like analyze the situation to see if there was something that changed from your end that you can that
mhm,
you can spot. And then you can always ask for feedback, right? Like, it's scary, but like, I would totally give them permission to roast me, right? Like,
yes,
send them a message like, "Hey, I want you to roast me. Think like we're on SNL, and I want you to just tear me apart." Like,
yes,
full permission. Um, and giving them that permission makes it less scary if they do have kind of bigger feedback to give you. Uh,
Mhm.
they may not. A lot of people won't give feedback because culturally, for a lot of us, like it's not acceptable. Like you and I live in the South, so giving
Yeah.
feedback is about like, oh, well, bless your heart, or
Yeah, that's it.
that's about the extent of feedback that you get. But you done fucked up if you get that.
Yeah.
Uh,
You done
or bless your
fucked up,
cotton
son.
socks. Yep. So
It's
culturally
so
it can be
true.
difficult to get feedback. But presenting the opportunity is always good. And then after that, you have to let it go. If you can't spot anything and you're not getting any type of feedback, you have to just kind of be at peace with it and move on.
Yeah. This is super important. And it moves quickly and easily. It's a great segue to sort of the second thought, which is how you handle your verbiage, your attitude as with them specifically as they leave, because we're salespeople. I mean, first and foremost, whether you like it or not, John Q. Public, Jane Q. Public, if you are a personal trainer running their own, well, even if you're on a gym floor, it doesn't matter. Your title is actually sales. Your product is actually training, to be perfectly honest with you, because you can't
Mm-hmm.
get anybody to enroll in it. You never get to do it, right? You're not working for, and you may be, but for most of us, we're not working for the local collegiate team. We're not
Mm-hmm.
working for the local NBA or NFL team. We're not on staff as trainers. We're servicing individuals. It's a business to consumer model most of the time. Most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, as such, being so entrenched in sales, we have an opportunity. Opportunity is not the right word. We have a thought process that sort of centers on saving everything. Nobody should ever leave. Nobody should ever say no. I need to make everybody say no 7 times because I saw that in a book once, right? And that can be particularly problematic in the future of a relationship. Amber hinted at it as we started this podcast with our Terminator line. I'll be back. Um, you can ruin the opportunity for future business if you sort of just can't let it go. And one thing that I've benefited from, quick story, right? So I had a client that worked with me for 3 months, and I missed something along the way, obviously, and I always look to myself in these situations because per the request of the client, we had nailed everything, right? I want to do this, we did that. I want to lose this amount, we lost that. I want to be able to do this event and conquer it, did the event, conquer it. At the end, I think I'll need to try something else, right? It's going to happen. Invariably, it's going to happen. We'll call her Sue. We'll call her Susan Storm because I
I
like the
like it.
Fantastic Four, and that's a Marvel
Yes.
reference, and she's the Invisible Lady, and this lady went invisible on me. So Sue Storm, shout out to you, Sue. Decided at the end of the 3 months, Ren, it's been good, but I saw this thing online, and it's with this insert famous person here, and I really want to try that. Now I could have said, Sue, you ignorant asshat. Why would you ever do something as stupid as that shit? You have to be the dumbest motherfucker alive. In all of dumbness, you are the queen of supreme dumbness. I hate your guts and I hope you get amoebic dysentery. Right? I could have said that.
That was creative.
That was creative. That took me back to Oregon Trail. I could have said that, but it was all those Indians that
Hey, Gen
surrounded me.
X.
Yeah, yeah. This very Gen X reference. People under 30 are like, what? From Oregon? So, in any case, I could have said something along the lines of that. And I felt the verbiage rising in me. Like the darkness of Vader, the Sith Lord. I was turning to the dark side of the Force. And what I said was, Sue, I think that's a really interesting idea. How did you find that? Wow, you've always been diligent about finding great things to try to improve your health. I fully support you in this. I've heard it's a great program, although I've never done it personally. Let me know how that goes, And of course, Sue, you're always welcome to come back. Like if you're short on protein for the day, have a talk like that because you'll completely chew through your own tongue by reason of biting down on it as hard as possible. I said nothing that my emotions wanted me to say, and everything that the professionalism in me said, this is probably a better way to go. I defaulted to my training, Amber. When you
Very
get in a
good.
situation, you just default to your training. That's what Yoda
Yep.
told Luke. Uh, Use your training, save you it will. So I defaulted to my training, and guess what? Sue's been back twice since then for
Mhm.
6 months and 1 year, respectively, over the course of my 10-year career. Because no matter what Sue decides she wants to try, she knows that she's going to get support from me and encouragement. And I know, quite frankly, that I'm the shiznit, and when she goes out there, she's not going to find something better. For those that aren't familiar, that's sort of a 90s rap term, meaning I'm the
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
I know I'm the shiznit. And when
That
she
sounds good.
goes out there, yeah, ain't nobody going to treat you like me, which is another breakup song. I think that was 112 under P. Diddy. Who's going to love you like I did? Nobody. But I know that when these clients venture out, the personal detail, the attention that I give, the explanation, no one's going to really leave your individual program, go to a cookie cutter situation and be like, this is so, hopefully, if you built your program the way we teach you to and you've serviced the way we teach you to in this organization, nobody's going to leave your program, go to a famous person's cookie cutter program and say, well, this is so much better. And if they do, you've got some work to do on your processes. That's okay.
Hmm.
That's another good learning opportunity. But Sue's been back twice since the original time she left. And I think coaches don't really understand that you don't have to burn the whole thing down to have a
Hmm.
separation. Amber, your thoughts?
Nope, I totally agree. And I just think of like how people naturally are, right? Like we are not fans of like homeostasis. Like we
You're
just
right.
don't like doing the same shit over and over again.
Even if it
And
works.
so we look, yeah, even if it's working, like we need some excitement, some change, whatever. It makes our brains happy to do that. It's
Mm-hmm.
addicting to do that. So it's not crazy to expect for clients to kind of come and go depending on what's going on and what kind of
Yeah.
like where their brain status is. Um, so yeah, that does not surprise me at all. I mean, with a lot of my clients, when I would try to program with them, I used that knowledge
Mm-hmm.
and like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like we need to dramatically like change stuff to feed your brain because I know that they
Yes.
typically like to bounce around. And so like, okay, I know you also like a class would be good for you. Like let's find a class for you to do because people just do that, and sometimes it would
Yeah.
help, them stay longer and other times it didn't. But leaving the door open is huge. We don't want to burn any bridges, and the experience of them leaving you is just as important as the experience of them coming to work with you
Right.
initially.
Right. I'm an old retail guy, and
Mhm.
I had the displeasure of managing several retail locations. Amber's got some retail experience,
Been there.
and
Hmm.
and one of the things that I used one of the things that I used to discuss often with my staff is, hey, as happy as you were to sell that thing, I want you to keep that same energy when it comes back with a receipt, right? But
Hmm.
and everyone out there listening, you've had this experience. You've had the negative experience of returning something legally within the bounds in the contract of the receipt and just not getting the same energy as when you bought it, particularly if those salespeople are commission based. And that's such an error that salespeople make because your joy should be perceptively, your joy should be derived from properly servicing the client. So it should make you just as happy to service the client well when they buy something as it does to serve them well when they realize that they made a mistake. I made an error in my purchase. We see this all the time in our groups, Amber, when people are talking about, well, somebody asked, I have a refund policy and somebody actually asked for a refund. What should I do? Right. I understand the sales piece of it. And I don't want to I don't want to confuse our listeners who are in our programs, because yes, obviously you get that person back on the phone, you hash it out, you figure out what changed. That's a great question to ask it. I know you wanted the XYZ, and I know you wanted the XYZ and XYZ. I'm curious what changed for you, right? That's a great question. I
Mm-hmm.
get it. Try to save the sale. It's worth the effort. If nothing else, you get some information. But sometimes you just got to let it go. I think it was Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes, Amber, that said, I think you better let it go. Look like another love TKO. Sometimes it's just a TKO,
Nice.
right?
Yep,
You let
that's
it
right.
go and you move. Yeah, and you move on, man. Like don't be a stage five clinger. Nobody likes a stage
Mm-mm.
five clinger. Um, anything else there, Amber?
Yeah. So, what's the phrase? I forget. You might remember where like how you are when nobody looks is actually like how you are, right?
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
I can't remember the actual
I
phrase,
can't
but
remember the phrase either.
how you handle the difficult situations is how you're actually measured by. So if you
Yes,
want customer or client loyalty, it's in those hard and uncomfortable moments where that is earned. And if
yes.
you want to have good word of mouth, that is an amazing opportunity. Even if they never come back, how you treat
Hmm.
them on the way out the door determines whether they either say, yes, it was great, maybe just not for me, or,
Right.
I had to leave for whatever reason, or they don't say anything and just keep their mouth shut, or they totally flame you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we want to definitely be very thoughtful about how we handle those
It's
situations.
so true. It's so true. Another quick story. I had a lady that was I'll call her Dr. Crane, because that's Fraser Crane's wife, Lilith from
Yes, I
Cheers.
love
Another
Frasier.
Gen X reference. So and she was very much a Dr. Crane personality type. Nice lady, but you know not a whole lot of personality in the Kool Aid.
Yeah.
Just the sugar and the flavor, but nothing
Mm-hmm.
extra in there like a pineapple or something. Shout out to Amber. So Lilith Crane, Dr. Lilith Crane, she left, and as she was exiting, part of my offboarding is to ask if you would you be willing to fill out a survey for me, an exit survey, that I can and I'll turn this into a testimonial. Now I get several testimonials at several points. This isn't a conversation about testimonials, but in this story, that was part of what happened. They fill out a testimonial, a survey for me, and she said, "No, I'd rather not. I'm not active on social media, and I just don't care to." And I was like, "Ooh, burn! You
Ouch.
saucy bee." But I let it I completely understand. But
Yeah.
Lilith referred someone to me 2 months ago that paid for a year in full. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
thought Lilith didn't like me, right? But Lilith was just being Lilith. She's just a saucy bee.
Mm-hmm.
And had I blown up at my displeasure about how I felt I've been treated, how dare you, Lilith? How dare you?
Mm-hmm.
After all the good months I poured into you, um, that was just stupid. But but those are the people like. I just wanted to give a story to back what Amber just said. Man, you just like I always have personal note. I always kind of question people, particularly even my friends, especially that always have horrible breakups, right? Like we've all had some bad ones. Everybody's running probably 40, 50%. Some are horrible, some of them are tolerable. But I've got one or two friends that always have horrible, horrible breakups. And I got to the point in life where I started realizing, bro, it's you.
Yep.
if
Yep.
if all the ladies are crazy, that chick was crazy. If they're all
Mm-hmm.
crazy chicks throughout the entirety of all your relationship experiences, you're actually the crazy dude.
Yep.
You're the weirdo. You're the creep, not them. And I feel the same way when I see coaches repeatedly saying how awful a client was or how how unreasonable they were when they left, or you're supposed to be collecting some data. And I'm sure again we'll get into this when we talk about awkward, but you're supposed to be collecting some data that helps you reiterate, that helps you iterate on multiple occasions the things that you do in your program. I now survey people weekly. After raising my prices a little, I survey people weekly so I can give them something slightly different week to week, because of the other story I just told about the lady who left, Sue Storm, who left because she kind of got bored. So how can I use these instances to build something that is preventative from me having to repeat these instances? If it happens over and over and over again, and you're not shifting your protocol in some way, because you still can't see it coming after 5 or 10 years, bro, that's on you. Like you need to make some adjustments. I mean, am I am I making sense, Amber? Is it
Yep.
crazy talk?
When no, no, it's like they're strangling him with a red flag, and he's still not. He's still confused about what's happening. Like
Why
that's
is that flag so
fascinating.
red?
I
Um,
know, right? It's
and how
marinara.
did it get in my trachea? Let's keep it moving because we're in a good
Yep.
place. I feel like we're running a good
We're
clip. It always
tracking.
goes, yeah,
Knock on wood.
always goes better when what's his face isn't here. Um, I think he's got a hangover from Canada Day or something.
Oh, that's right.
Toss Tossing back the beers, eh? So the third thing, and I'm looking at my notes. Podcast listeners, you can't see me looking at my notes. I rarely have notes, but I took notes because I wanted to be thorough here, to prove that John's irrelevant. Um, the third one, oh, the celebration of them leaving. How do
Yes.
you treat
One
this
of my favorites.
publicly? This is one of our favorites here at the show. We like to talk about one of the core tenets of all of our processes here in online trainerdom, academydom, mentorshipdom is do a good job and make sure everybody knows about it. We usually think about that in terms of, oh, the client lost weight, or the client became a first lieutenant in the Marines. I don't know if Marines have lieutenants. I don't know that, but whatever, or the client won the race or whatever. But sometimes a win can be found, and sometimes a good job can be reflected in how you handle the separation from the client. So I like to celebrate the clients online when they leave. Now, obviously, it probably reflects better if I'm talking about them renewing, right? But I think that
Hmm.
there's one brain type of person that gravitates towards, oh, clients are renewing. This must be a good service. And I think there's another type of brain and person that says, oh, he celebrates when people leave. Now,
Hmm.
the thing that I'm most anxious about, which is what happens if I don't want to work with him long term, I can reduce my own anxiety about that, because people out there, people aren't working with you more because of fear than they are because of price, always, right? If you can sort of
Hmm.
quell their fears and concerns, usually price becomes less and less of an issue. But people got all their own anxieties in their head, man. They've having 1,000 conversations about hiring you. What if it doesn't work? That's probably a common conversation.
Hmm.
What if he gives a price that I can't afford? I'll be embarrassed. That might be a common conversation. But definitely one of them is, you know, when I get into it, how do I get out of it? Like,
Hmm.
what if I need to stop at some point? I don't want to make him angry. And believe it or not, there are people that care about that have never met you. It's the truth. Um, Amber's probably one of those kinds of people, to a certain
Yep.
extent. You're doing so well with your
Yep.
boundaries these days, Amber. I meant to mention that to you.
I'm working on it. I'm
Just
working
great
on it.
job. I mean, you're growing up so fast.
Thank you.
Um,
I try.
but somebody out there sort of thinking, well, what if I start working with him? Do I have to work with him forever? Like, do I have to stay a year? What's he gonna think? Will I look like a loser or a quitter? And then they see that you're on the internet celebrating someone that left after 3 months. And I like to phrase it this way because it leads typically right into a call to action. I like to say, this month I had a new client that flew the nest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sue Storm spread her wings and she was ready to fly. And even though we're sad to see her go, we're so amazed by the heights that she'll no doubt soar to. As a result, her spot and a few others are open. So if you're a person like Sue who wants to blankety blank, or blankety blank over the next 12 weeks, DM me the word fly. And we'll talk about how we can grow your wings together. Some sappy crap that I made up.
Mm-hmm.
That seems heartfelt, but mostly just lies, blatant lies, just to get your money in my pocket. I'm kidding.
Of
Some,
course.
um, but you know, people that aren't working with you yet are going to see how you separate a relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
this is a great way for you to do a good job for 3 months or 6 months or a year or 5 years, and make sure that everybody knows about it. Also, how does it make the other person feel who left? And if tagged, what are they likely to say about you when somebody says, I
Mm-hmm.
saw a story from some Ren guy about you being in his training for 3 months. He said that you spread your wings and you were an eagle or a dragon or a witch on a broom. Take your pick. Um, and you did amazing. What was it like? Now, because you've just celebrated that person on social media, they're more likely to be they're more likely to be complimentary when someone randomly asks this question, right? They're most likely to say, because people want to edify themselves. Nobody wants to look like they did something stupid. So the chances of them saying, "Oh, it was awful, it was the wrong decision. That's why I only stayed for 3 months," they're more likely going to say, "Yeah, it was great. I learned a lot. I think it was a good decision for me. He was awesome, awesome coach. You can tell by what he wrote about me. Yeah, you should try it." Right? That's more
Mm-hmm.
likely what's going to happen. Now, this isn't necessarily a conversion technique. It's more of an engagement technique and probably an awareness technique. But it's still awesome. It's so think about think about how you announce the separation. Hey, I've seen people have divorce parties just like weddings, right? Because that's how their relationship was, and they wanted to celebrate the new relationship that they have with their family and friends. I know it seems a little bit weird to some people, but I've been to about two of these where both parties get together and both families are there, and everybody knows everybody now because they've been in this situation where these families have been merged for years, and that's how they do it. And don't you just kind of feel like that person's going to be probably a little less toxic to enter into a relationship with than my homeboy that says, "Man, these chick crazy," right? Like nobody's looking for that dude because they can see through the. Amber, again, I digress. Your thoughts?
If you want to be able to affect like someone's memory, like if you want your client to remember you fondly, there are two moments that you want to really nail. And that's the peak moment, like the biggest, most important moment in their work with you, and the last moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're doing is creating a positive last moment, and that is going to affect how they interpret their time with you, especially as they have to keep bringing it back through their memory.
Mm-hmm.
It'll stay more positive, and the any little things that may have been there will fade because the big moment and the final moment are positive. Everything else becomes less important. So that's why I love what you do when they do leave. This is one of the last things that they get from you, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to keep that positive association with you, which I think is really important.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love that. I love celebrating that big moment, like those two
Mhm.
memories. I've never really thought about it that way, but that's of course brilliant. Um, Offboarding. Can we talk a little bit about offboarding? Give us the magic. If you got any magic, in that hat. She doesn't have a
Oh,
hat on, but got any
no.
magic in that hat for us, Amber? Like
I don't know
Frosty the
about.
Snowman magic.
Well, definitely not that kind of magic. Um, so offboarding is obviously like the opposite of onboarding, but is equally as important in my mind. Um, it's going to look different for everyone because it depends on what you do. But I think an area of kind of everybody tends to butt heads about because they do take this so personally
Yeah.
is like what a client takes with them, right? I have an OTA student. She gives them she has like lessons that they do. She gives them an entire spreadsheet of everything that they encountered during that time. It's theirs. They paid for it. And she gives them everything she has
Hmm.
that they got while they were working with her, and
Yes.
she walks them through how to navigate it and how to use it if X, Y, or Z situation shows up, so they could do the work on their own based on the skills that they already learned.
Hmm.
So giving it's a little bit of a parting gift, but taking them through not just okay, bye, thanks. Like, what are the steps, right? That happens. What questions or concerns might they have as they leave? Right? What happens to their information? What if there's something that they want? Can they see old workouts that they've completed with whatever numbers they've put in?
Hmm.
All of that kind of stuff, I think, is just really important. And if you have a different opinion on giving them stuff, that's fine. Set the expectation appropriately at the beginning so they understand that it's only while they're active with you.
Right.
um but creating a positive experience on the way out, other than cool, I canceled your subscription, bye. Like, it needs to be more than that. That just feels
Uh,
shitty. Like, that's
leave,
not a good impression that we want to end on.
left the money on the nightstand.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Yeah, not that I would know, but I
Not
would
that I know anything
imagine
about
like
that. Neither one of us have any idea what that means at all. We just saw it in a movie once uh, that they play
for
in the
sure.
South. Um, but but I love that, and and I do this. I do similar thing because we've got to get out of the idea that we want people to fail when they leave. Right? It's almost like out of spite. You want to. Well, you.
Well, it's a reflection on you if they fail on the way out.
Right,
Like, did you
right.
not teach them anything?
I,
That worked.
I think there. I don't know if it was Barry White or Lou Rawls, but there's a song that's like, "You'll never find someone who loved you the way that I do," and in the background chorus is like, boy, you're gonna miss my loving. Like, I don't want people to miss my loving, right? I want them to leave feeling loved and know that I fully support you to the extent that I can within the parameters of this. Obviously, I can't continue to work daily with you, but I want you to here's something that here's something that shows my commitment to you being as successful as you possibly can going forward. I care that much. I have that much concern for you. I'm telling you guys, these things are the Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs that lead them back to you. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're not there's no way. I got a lot of thoughts, Amber, and I got jumbled up in my
I
head.
see that.
There's I felt like a 3 year old.
Welcome to
And
my
Billy
brain.
said, and Billy said, and then like the toddlers that just get tired because they just can't
Yep.
remember what they. Um, but these are the breadcrumbs that lead back to you. If you're not taking advantage of these opportunities, you're missing out on making sure that you stay top of mind, right? You did all that work through Online Trainer Academy or Online Trainer Mentorship and learned everything you could about the principle of being the obvious choice, being top of mind. I'm unwilling to let that go after the training ends. I want to send you out with me being top of mind. And I think that's what most people don't realize. Top of mind doesn't just work before you acquire the client, it works after. Every time my clients think about something nutritionally or physically or fitness wise that they want to change or some article, you know what they do? They text me, right? Clients from 5 years ago. Because if they're ever going to hire a coach again, most likely it's going to be me And most likely they are, because coaching them before they had kids is different than when they have kids. So I have clients that didn't have kids, they'll have kids, they'll come back. Man, I just don't know how to navigate this stuff with a 2 year old. Like the stuff in my case, working with women, there are certain physical changes that happen. Women that I coached pre-menopausally now are in peri or post-menopause, and the things that they knew to do don't work quite as well as they did before. So hopefully your clients are going to have all of these buckets of life changes. And if they get into a bucket where they can't really navigate it, you're going to be the top of mind person. You helped me solve my late 20s. Can you help me solve my mid 30s if you're around that long as a coach?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good idea to look towards that. So I love the idea of giving them some, and like Amber said, it's your choice. But I love the idea of giving them something that allows them to follow through in their own journey. What else you got in that offboarding bag, Amber?
Well, what I think is interesting is for most coaches, they're really worried about like giving stuff to the client because like, oh, well, what if they share it or like whatever. First of all, it's probably going to sit in their email and they'll have it saved somewhere, right? And never even open it. Or they'll
Right.
download it, it'll sit in their downloads and it'll stay there. Like the odds of it going them even opening it is pretty slim.
This is
But
true.
let's say they do and it gets shared a ton and those are were, potential clients. That's an awesome problem to have
Yeah.
because it means it's actually good.
Yes.
Like if they're feeling the need to share it and
Yes.
it keeps getting shared around, great job. Now you have an amazing marketing. This was
Yes.
stolen by X amount of people.
Absolutely.
Do me a solid, actually.
Yeah.
Like that would be a great marketing thing. So don't even worry about it potentially getting shared. Like the people that are quote unquote stealing it either are going to become clients because they realize they're missing stuff and it's that good,
Right.
or they were never going to be clients anyway.
And it doesn't matter.
So, and it doesn't matter. So, I understand the ego that comes into that. Like, I did all of that work, right?
Yeah.
Totally get it. But like, let your brain take control of that situation. Hopefully,
Yeah. And it's
and
not that
and just
good.
not worry about it because the odds of it happening are just very very slim. So like I
Yeah.
really would not worry about it. I would rather focus on what I can control right now, and that's my interaction with the client. And so I
100%.
want them to have as good of as good of an experience as possible. For example, we actually had a student who reached out, who wanted a refund. Now in this case we couldn't provide one because it was so far out,
Right.
but literally 10 pages. I sent like feedback because she got stuck and I
Uh
went through
huh.
her social media. I went through everything and
Nice.
gave her 10 pages of like notes and suggestions and like, and here's the order to do it and whatever. Right. And so while I couldn't do what she was wanting, but like, here's all of this, right? I'm not worried if she shares it or anything like that. Cool if she does. So at least people know that I give a shit about our students, right?
Right.
So it's kind of the same idea here. Like, really don't worry about it because I would rather focus on that relationship that I'm in control of, and then everything outside of that is not my responsibility. So,
It's 100% accurate. I love the fact that you gave her those 10 pages, because I know she wasn't expecting that. Um,
mhm.
Maybe didn't read any of the pages, but it's there, like you said, and it was offered. Man, that's important. So I've got nothing else, Amber. You want to throw out a random
Yeah.
number for a previous episode?
Oh
I've
gosh.
I've got
Oh, should we just do like a random
yeah,
swipe? That would
just
be kind of
yeah,
fun.
just
Can we
take any
gamify
number.
this?
Take any 3-digit number under the amount of episodes that we've made and say randomly go check
And
this. Because we've done
here,
what,
I'm gonna
200?
swipe and you say stop.
Okay. Are you swiping it?
I'll start over
Okay.
and go.
Stop.
Okay. Okay, this works. All right. So, for your next episode, go check out episode 203, 7 Mistakes Made Based on Conventional Wisdom.
Oh, nice.
Right, that works.
Yeah.
Why two membership sites meant to generate passive income failed. why collaboration sounds great in theory, but isn't the sales fuel you want it to be, and your business isn't like Field of Dreams, which is my favorite
Nice.
reference. I love that movie.
Very good. Very good. Well,
So 203.
just a top job today. And again, we didn't miss what's his face at all. If he's when he comes out of his drunken Canada Day stupor, maybe he'll check in with us. But I
I
doubt it.
wonder if his accent will be heavier.
Yeah, probably so. He's on the booze heavy. I had some beers, eh? Um,
Yeah.
I'm Jonathan Goodman, eh? So you've thank you for being here for another fun-filled,
Unhinged.
nutrient-dense, protein-packed version of the Obvious
Protein
Choice
packed.
podcast. The South has once again risen. Undoubtedly, this episode will rocket to the top of the charts like Mariah Carey in 1987 with Vision of Love. I don't know that the year that was 87, but it sounds
So
right.
that was impressive. You
The
should
hair
just go with it.
matches. It was 87 hair. So we'll see you next time. And until then, go. Nah, I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna throw the Ron Burgundy line out there. Have a great day, San Diego.